Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. It's been so long since we've had a five-person panel, but it is the award show. It's the final show to wrap up the season, so to speak. And as people always know, it's my favourite show of the year because I don't know why I love this show so much. It just feels like a nice way to end the season, no matter how the season's gone. It's just a nice way to end it. Yeah, we got that inspired by the 7-a-side, with the 5-a-side bit at the end when it goes to extra time. Obviously, United had a couple of those, so we got inspired by that and thought we'd go for a five-person panel. But as previous years, if those of you who haven't seen, we've whacked the posts out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You guys have all been voting. I've collated all of those into a top 5. The top 3 get a nice little graphic, and we'll also go through the honourable mentions as well that didn't make the top 5. So only the top 5 will discuss player by player, and the honourable mentions for goal and for player. For goal of the season, by the way, there's about 15. So we're not going to talk through every single one because we'll be here all night. So there's a lot to talk about there. But yeah, we'll get into all of that in just a second. Let's just see how everyone is first, because it feels like it's been a while. The Sevens week is now over, I guess. Charlie and Barry, you were both on the final watch along, which was very entertaining. So Barry, start with you. How are you doing on this Bank Holiday Monday?
Loving life. Thank you very much, Connor. Always a pleasure to be on the end of season show, and really looking forward to it. I think the Sevens was really enjoyable. I very much enjoyed Charlie's company for the final. She nursed me back to full health in that hour or so that we were together. So excellent stuff. Really enjoyed it. How are you feeling? How's the quiff?
Yes, it's not too bad. Sorry to disappoint Sean. No, none of us dressed to the nines. And Charlie did actually ask earlier on whether there was going to be like a dress code or anything else, and I did say no. So maybe that's my fault that we're not all dressed up. Although this is it's my favourite United shirt ever released. I know it's not an official kit, but this Stone Roses collection I thought was brilliant. So thought I'd go a little bit more impressive than just a plain shirt on here. Charlie, how are you doing?
I'm really good, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's always one of my favourite shows to do across the year because it's a chance, isn't it, to look at all the positive stuff that's taken place across the course of the season. And obviously absolutely on top of the world to be sharing it with you lovely four.
Absolutely, that's a nice way of putting it. Alicia's going in with a vote for Barry's goal of the season, regarding a little bit of a rant last week as well. And as you've both already said already, and in the chat, it's a nice follow-on from the Sevens, which was a nice little positive thing. And now we're going to celebrate some players and goals as we go through the top 5 in just a second. Georgia, how are you doing over there?
Yeah, I'm doing really good, thank you. Nice to have a bit of an extra long weekend. Yeah, really enjoyed the Sevens and looking forward to being part of the end of season show from this side. Loved it as a fan last year.
I was just about to say that. I was watching the one last year earlier on, and you were there in the comments hyping everything up. So there we go. Keris, for yourself?
Yeah, good. I've been enjoying Sevens to give me a break from uni work because we're in the last couple of weeks of that now, but I loved Sevens. I thought it was great. I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. Great fun, great vibes. And hopefully we do that one again at some point. I will definitely, if they decide to do a sort of May week in Portugal next year, then I think I'll have to be there, to be honest, because that looked very good fun. I was very jealous of all the other journalists who were out there while I was locked in the library. But yeah, other than that, I'm good.
I was going to say, a lot of people have said that because I don't actually know anyone who went out there, but ever since it's finished, everyone's like, got to be at the next one.
So I think a lot of people who were there because they were out for the final in Lisbon, which the Champions League final, which was obviously like half an hour down the road, and then thought they would just go along to the Sevens as well and ended up really enjoying it. Like, won't like sugarcoat it. Like the attendances of the Sevens looked pretty rubbish. Like there was hardly anyone there, but that's, I guess, kind of to be expected with not very long promoting it, not very long knowing which teams were going to be there. So I would hope that next year they'd be able to do a lot better with it.
Well, that's it. It was only, we said this on the watch long for the semi-final or whatever it was, that there wasn't much notice. The final 4 teams got confirmed like a couple of weeks before. It was brand new as well. No one really knew what it was going to be like anyway. So yeah, I think the next one's, I think it's in America next, and then the one after that, back over Europe way maybe, or wherever it's going to be after that, I think will be much better attended, that's for sure. Right, I'm not going to waste any more time because we've got so much to go through, whether it's a top 5, like I said, I'll mention the rest of it. We're going to start with goal of the season. As I said, I think, let me just double check. There was 14 goals that we had nominated. A lot of them only had one vote, though, on that one. But we have got a clear top 5. We've also got no shared positions. So there is a split. So let's just quickly dive. I'm going to do each goal, and I'm going to go through each of you kind of in a different order per goal. But I think about evening to you, Simon. Hope you're enjoying that. That is commitment. Joining the live. Anyway, right. Let's make sure I've got the first one right, because I don't want to click the wrong banner that's going to go across the bottom. So in 5th place for goal of the season, this got 6% of the vote. So not ridiculously high, but as you'll see by the rest of the percentages, you'll see why. Salim Bizet's goal versus Manchester City in the semi-final, which obviously kick-started that win down at I was going to call it the Etihad campus. I don't even know what it's called anymore. The Joey Stadium, whatever. Kara, to start with you first, actually, to talk us through this one.
I think it's pronounced Joy, not Joey, but
I don't know what it's called.
That made my day. No, I was really sad I wasn't at that game. That was a cracking goal. Such good technique, such good power. I think it almost a little bit like Toon's goal last year at Wembley. I feel like when that one went in, you were like, oh, okay, I think we're going to win the game. Do you know what I mean? Like it really set the tone and set the atmosphere, and City didn't really look like coming back from it. So yeah, I loved that one. That was a good shout.
Everyone's criticising me. I'm just going to say that next time. I think. Well, that's what it used to be called. It was the Academy Stadium like 2-3 years ago when the first time we went there. So I'm not having that. Charlie, over to yourself, and then Barry and Georgia following on this one. Save me, just keep saying names on repeat.
Yeah, it wasn't in my top 2, but I've no issue with it being in the top 5 at all. But yeah, I think for me it was the build-up play was decent, wasn't it? Excellent assist, and I think Bizet did really well under a bit of pressure from Pryor, I think it was. And it's always nice to see Kiara Keating flailing around, getting nowhere near a perfectly weighted ball into the back of the net. So no surprise to see that there. But when you first said it, I was like, that was one I'd forgotten. I found it really difficult to pick my favourite goals because so many decent ones. But yeah, not surprised to see that one there at all.
Yeah, sort of similar thing to what everyone else said, but the assist, I think, was a huge part of that goal. Lovely ball over the top from Toon, and then lovely curl on the shot. Celine sort of chops it back a little bit before and side netting and kicked us one goal closer to Wembley. So great goal. One, I'd forgotten about that goal as well, to be fair, when I was trying to pick mine. But yeah, happy for it to be in the top 5, definitely.
I think this was a very good goal, and it very nearly entered my top 2. You'd probably say this was 3rd for me, so I feel like it's coming a little bit low for everybody else on that one. But it was a really good goal. So yeah, there'll be no part of me that's upset to see these in the top 5 at all. But I do have to ask, Connie, you might have just seen me star it. I mean, this is a statement and a half, this one. What a lineup. Steps got nothing on you 5. And interestingly enough, Steps had 2 fellas and 3 girls in. So I think if you're going to go down this, we've got to work out who's who. I'm going to presume I'm H because I'm funny. And you are obviously the other guy, Lee. He's a very good dancer. We've all seen your dancing at Box Park. So it's just the 3 ladies. Who are they going to be? Who's who?
I can't even remember the rest of them that's in
I
it.
was going to say, I'm not familiar enough with Steps to actually put names on it.
Faye, Claire, and no one wants to be Lisa. I'll fight you both to not be her. She was the least talented one.
If you don't buy hair colour, Georgia's going to be Lisa.
I don't really know who Steps are, so I'll take it.
Oh,
You do know who Steps are.
I can't, but that is
Top
shocking.
knowledge on this channel.
Tragedy.
Is absolutely shocking.
Tragedy 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh,
of course,
okay.
Connor knows
You know 5,
all
6,
about
7, 8.
them.
Some of their songs are better best forgotten.
Well, that wasn't me, JJ. I know Steps. I won't take that. That was Georgia.
I do know some of their songs now. They've been reminded to me.
Yeah, but there we go. So, yeah, they're a bit of definitely a cheesy disco kind of vibe if you're going for that. Definitely ones that used to get recommended a fair amount. But yeah, so there we go. Celine Bizet makes it in. in 5th place. I'm intrigued to see as we go through this top 5 whether I'm going to ask the panel at the end when we get through the 5 whether there's any that are missing, and obviously we'll come to the honourable mentions in a second once we've gone through the 5, because I have a feeling this. I'm just going to get to it because I don't want to spoil any of them. So let's move on to 4th. This is the outlier for me. And I think there is maybe ones, not that this wasn't, but I think this is slightly surprising to me that it's this high. But in 4th place, with just under 10% of the vote, 9.8%, was Melvin Mallard's goal versus City at Old Trafford in the WSL. So technically, maybe not the best one, but in terms of a moment, you could argue it's up there as well. Charlie, you were pointing. Did you vote for this one? Is that why?
Yeah, I did vote for that one. I thought it was a cracking goal. I thought the build-up play was incredible. I thought it was a really good hooked clearance from Aoife Mannion, and then Turland did an absolutely cracking job, I thought, getting on the end of it and directing the ball to where Melvin Mallard was. And I thought she put it away sublimely. But obviously I also voted for it because it secured us Champions League football, and I cried immediately after it went in. And then I panicked when Aoife Mannion got sent off. But I thought it was a really good goal. I initially did vote for it because I am an emotive person, so I make emotional decisions when it comes to sport. But it was also, I think, a really, really well-worked goal. And I was also influenced by the fact that she'd been struggling in front of goal, so I was really glad for her to get it. And she did about 7 or 8, you might remember, different celebrations within 30-second span of time, which I enjoyed. But yeah, I thought it was it was an important goal, but I also thought it was a really well-worked goal. That's why I voted for it. 2 reasons.
I think that's it. Did anyone else on the panel go for this one? I can't remember if you did or not. I don't think you did. George, I'll throw it over to you then next on this one, in terms of that particular goal.
Yeah, I mean, arguably probably the most important goal in our season, secured us Champions League football. Like Charlie just said, that the feeling when that goal hit the back of the net, I think it definitely deserves to be in goal of the season lineup in the 5th list. Really good build-up play again. Really lovely. At the Stretford end, great celebrations. Fans went mad. Yeah, definitely a nice one to be remembered.
Yeah, and just to answer your question, James, it's not, but there are a couple more goals against Keaton that have made the list. It won't be a shock to say that one. Barra, I'll throw it over to you then, and then Kerish just following on this particular goal. I guess for this one, it is a nice build-up play in terms of the finish, but do you reckon it's the moment that's maybe taking this one high, or where am I just being too critical? Maybe it is a better finish than I'm giving it credit for. That was to you, Barry, first.
All right, Barry sounds a little bit like Keris. Yes, it's the moment. It has to be the moment. It's a good finish. Don't get me wrong. And I think Ema's spot on to say she had missed one a few days earlier against Chelsea where she should have taken it first time, didn't, mucked about with it, tried to take it round the goalkeeper and fluffed it up. So absolutely, this one was good for that very reason. Is it an outstanding finish? No, it's not. Do I think it's worthy of being top 5 in terms of goals of the season for how well they've been taken? Probably not. But what I will say, and I hope this is taken with the spirit that it's meant, we haven't scored a great deal of fantastic goals this season. I think the pickings were relatively slim for reasons that we have discussed many times on this channel, which is that we're often pouncing on mistakes rather than creating goals ourselves. So with that in mind, am I surprised that it squeaked in at 4th? Not at all, because I think you often hook a goal onto how it made you feel, and to get to a point where you have qualified for Europe, that's all the sweeter, isn't it? I mean, to me, the greatest goal that was ever scored was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and let's be honest, he was stretching for that. So, it wasn't great.
Yeah, no, I think, again, probably not the best technical goal, but the moment, I think, especially because we'd come back from 2-0 down, right? So there was a massive kind of sense of adversity in the game. It was a very spirited performance. It wasn't the best goal technically, but it doesn't need to be. I think we don't I'm someone who is not particularly bothered about how goals are scored as long as they're scored. It was an amazing moment. It was what probably, I think it was the best moment we've had in terms of atmosphere playing at Old Trafford. So it was really, really special for that reason. I was really pleased for Melvin that it was her that scored it as well. You know, that I think that she didn't get as many minutes as maybe she would have wanted this season. And when she did, it felt that sometimes had she had a few more, she might have been able to have more of an impact. And then so for her to come on and manage that was a great moment. And obviously kind of the importance for the goal for Champions League was brilliant.
I do agree on I think I said this at the time. I think the atmosphere at Old Trafford, I criticise it a lot because I just don't think it's certainly not as good as LSV. But that particular game did feel like, and there was so much riding on it. And obviously going 2-0 down, obviously there was a red card later on with Ethan Mannion. Like that game had everything in terms of the back and forth. It felt like a rivalry. The fans were up for it. And because of the importance of it, it felt more kind of on edge than I guess any other game would have done in and around that time as well. So yeah, I think it's a good finish. It wasn't one of my two, but I'm not against seeing it in the top 5. I was more surprised, and you'll see when we come to the ones that have just missed out, that I'm surprised there's another goal that maybe hasn't made the top 5 when we come around to it. And it's also worth noting this goal was only 2 votes off third as well. So the one that I'm about to bring up, this Mallard goal only just missed out. So we may as well move on to that then. So this one, 10%, as I said, it was literally 2 votes ahead of the Mallard one. So the first graphic that we're going to be able to bring on screen. Here we go. So in third place, I'm intrigued to see I don't know if any of us voted for this one, but we'll see. Ellertoon versus West Brom in the FA Cup, which was the 7-0 game for those of you who remember it, right at the start of the year. Her, I guess, comeback game after being out with a bit of an injury and the rest of it. So I'll take that graphic off screen because I'm covering everyone. Let's get the banner along the bottom. Who hasn't gone first yet? Barry, you haven't gone first yet. Let's start with you.
Wonderful. Why not? So, yes, this was won, like you said, by the club's goal of the season, I believe. And it was a very good goal. It came from a corner, didn't it, in the end? And she sort of moved in and scored it in at the far post. Again, it was a very good one that I felt I could have voted for. I just remember looking at the 2 that I've chosen and thinking they were better. So how'd you do this to me, Connor? How is it that we get to these lovely positive shows and then you still give me little platforms on which to jump on? It's like the hidden levels on Mario. I think sometimes Ellertoon gets votes because she's Ellertoon and not necessarily because it was the world's best finish. So is it a very good one? Yes. Is it better than Mallard's? Yes. Is it top 3? There's an argument for it. But, I don't think it was the best goal that we have scored all season, but it's an absolute cracker. And like someone just said, coming back from injury, everything that's gone before it, in that respect, absolutely brilliant, and just showed how wonderful she can be. So she is brilliant. She is great. But yeah, no, it's not number 1 for me, and not even for the AFU. So that's good.
If I'm being honest, I'm surprised it's not higher. Charlie, you've unmuted. I don't know whether you agree or disagree with that.
I just think the fact that it came from a short corner means that it should be in the history books regardless, because we are woeful at those. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I think there was an element of a nice goal, first game back after injury, and I wasn't just reading Siobhan's thing there. It was a good goal from her first game after injury, and it sort of kick-started a bit of good form for her, didn't it? Where she scored a few, and then I think there was the City game at the Etihad not long after, and it maybe kick-started that. Yeah, it was a decent goal. I think the goalkeeping was a bit poor, to be honest, because it was fairly in the middle of the goal, I think. But yeah, I'm not surprised. If anyone can do that from that distance, it's her. But yeah, it wasn't one that I'm not surprised it's there now you've said it, but it wasn't even one that I'd contemplated. Well, that's how it works. That's the beauty of a public vote, isn't it? It can spring up all sorts of what are perceived to be surprises, when perhaps when you think back maybe on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of revisionism going on here, because if this goal had not been against West Brom, I think this would have been like top. I think if this is in a WSL game, this is top, because for me, unless there's probably goals that I've forgotten, because I forgot to send my votes to Connor until like last night, so I was just going off the top of my head. But for me, this is one of the best technical goals we've scored all season. It was such a good strike. I don't know how many people were there either, because I was there. I was basically the only journalist there. It was the coldest I've ever been in my entire life. It was horrible. Like, I cannot emphasize to you enough, like, the only highlight from this game's 7-0 also made this game feel a lot more kind of better than it was. Like, there was a very late sort of like floodgates opened, and this goal sort of like kick-started it. Technically, it was superb. It was something for me to kind of cling on to and have a bit of joy in, as I literally couldn't feel my feet at the time. And I also think, like, as people have sort of alluded to already, it was such a good moment for her kind of coming back from injury, and after everything that she'd been through that season, it was a great moment for her as well. And I think it was a real turning point for her this campaign. So I voted for this one. Was one of my two, and I think it, like, technical wise, I think it was one of our best. I think if it had been in a WSL game, it would have been higher.
Yeah, I think Keris is probably right that if it was in a WSL game, I think it would have got higher, because West Brom was the game where we scored 6 in about 20 minutes, didn't we? So I don't know if maybe it's just got a little bit lost in that chaos towards the end of the game, but I think it was obviously important for us in that game. Great goal, technically brilliant, and then, like we said, such an important goal for Toon to score. First one back from injury, obviously after the start of the season that she had, on and off the field. And yeah, sparked her into a couple of games in great form with some really important goals. So I didn't vote for it in one of my top 2, but I'm glad that it's third. I think it's a deserving winner, third winner.
I was going to say, I'm not quite sure third place is a winner. That's that's a different kind of mentality. Is that because we finished third? Like, we're just treating us as winners this season? That's what we're going for. I'm pretty sure it was Gareth, because I'm fairly sure I was supposed to be in South Stand for that game, and we got moved.
I didn't know that was why it shut. I knew a stand had shut, but I didn't know why.
Yeah,
there was no media room that game. I think a lot of things were, a lot of bits of the stadium were struggling with the cold that day. I think because it was flipping cold.
Yeah, I mean, Becky said loved everything about that goal, struggling with second place. Yeah, I think I do agree. I think if this is WSL, this is probably higher. It obviously won United's one. So, I think when you're looking at and you'll notice a pattern here as we go through, when you look at the top 3 for player and for goal, in terms of percentage splits and whatever else, our one is slightly different to the United one, in a couple of respects. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought this was going to be higher purely because Tooney usually wins these things, particularly on ours. I'm not taking away from the goal. For me, that's probably about right. When we come to the top 2, I think that, yeah, it's probably about right, is what I'll say on that one. Right, we'll move on to second, but I have a feeling when I reveal second, it's probably going to give away what first is, because I don't think there's too many more shouts, unless people can correct me, on what these two could possibly be. So I think it's more which way around people are thinking these two are going to be. So we'll see. What percentage does this one get? So this one got 23%, so a big jump from the 10% that Tooney and Mel both got for those. So 23.5%, so quite a bit of the vote on this one. Let's see what the reaction of the panel is, although it's going to cover half of you up. So second place, goal of the season. Maya Letizier's volley, half volley, versus Everton in the League Cup. I'm going to say it out there. This was one of mine, and it was the first one that came to mind when I was thinking of goal of the season, purely just because of how good that strike is, and it's from a centre back, and it's just not what I expected. George, you haven't gone first yet. Let's come to you on that one. Obviously, we were both at the game, kind of saw it, and again, I think that was another one of my moments where I said yes before it hit the back of the net because it was one hell of a strike.
I knew that was going in before it hit the back of the net, but only because you shouted yes before it had gone in. No, this was one of my 2 votes. Incredible strike, hadn't long been on the pitch, and it just, I don't know what I was expecting when it fell to Mayer, but it wasn't that. Hell of a volley. Nice little bit of swaz on it as well as it went in, and yeah, just a great goal. I loved it. One that I went back and watched our goals this season to vote for this, and it was one I forgot about, but I'm glad that I remembered it. Really good goal.
I think it's like Siobhan's saying there, like good goal but forgettable because it was in the League Cup and it was kind of was it in the group stage? It must have been if it was back in whenever. So it's kind of like it's sandwiched in between a load of games. It's not a memorable game. It was a pretty average-ish game. So again, it wasn't really televised. And finding a photo, by the way, for this graphic was a nightmare because there was next to no photographers there. So I'm really impressed, actually. I managed to get a photo of that one. Just before I go around, obviously, Keris, Barry, and Charlie have your say on it. Do either three of you disagree that it's in second place? Is it about where you expect it to be? Would you want it higher or lower? Where's your kind of thinking in respect of that one?
Go on, Keris, you going?
I'll be honest, I totally forgot about this because I can't remember what I was doing that night. For some reason or another, I couldn't watch the game. So while I've obviously watched it back, this was not in my memory, or it would have been in my top two. But yeah, to be fair, I'm quite surprised that I'm not surprised this isn't higher because I feel like I can guess what the top goal is. But I think like the control on it and the technique on it was brilliant. And again, a bit like Tooney's one against West Brom. I think if it's in a WSL game, ideally against like another top four side, then it probably wins. Oh, I've just remembered what that was because was that the week before the FCAs? Because you were really ill.
It was the night before.
Because it made you proper ill, didn't it?
Yeah, it was freezing, as Andrew said there, one of the coldest games. So me and Andrew obviously were at the FCAs and then drove to London the next morning. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's. I remember there was something that I was doing because I couldn't go down the night before. But yeah, I'm not surprised, but I think technically that's probably one of our best of the season.
I can pull the curtain back a little bit here because I actually met someone, sorry, Charlie, very quickly on that because obviously we had the Content Awards, as Keris said, the day after that game. And I saw someone at United as I was walking out. And I remember saying to them, they were like, oh, just asking about the game, whatever. And then I was, I'm going to the Content. They were like, oh, good luck in the Content Awards tomorrow. And then they were like, actually thinking about it, why are you here if you've got that in London tomorrow? And I think their exact words were, you are bloody mad, is what they said. So, yeah, did both. But yeah, it was definitely worth it to see that goal. Sorry, Charlie, carry on.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. It was ideal, actually, because my dog started barking. So you talking was helpful because I had to mute the mic. I voted for that. That one was the first one I voted for. So as soon as you asked about goal of the season, I went for that one. It was the whole how nonchalant she was about the whole thing, and we were right behind the post. So I was stood right behind the post, so pretty much head on. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was an absolutely amazing goal. And she scored a couple of decent ones this year, but that was unreal. And I think people are right. She was faffing around with an energy gel or something at the same time. It was like she was like, oh, okay, here's the football, just leather it in. And do remember people shout, it was just unreal. And a mate of mine's got it live, happened to be filming at that point. I don't know why, maybe we had a corner or something. But I thought it was a wonderful goal, absolutely amazing. And I do love Maya Letizia. I think she's my favourite player at the moment. So that's probably maybe a little bit biased as well. But yeah, incredible. And I do love something about an absolute worldie from a centre back. I think you can't beat it. I genuinely think you can't.
No, absolutely. And I think, Barry, obviously you have your say, because I don't think this was in your top two, unless I'm mistaken. It might be. I can't remember. I'm trying to find them now. But
it wasn't my top two. You're quite right. It wasn't. So, if you're asking me, do I think it should be any higher? No, I think it should be lower. Sorry, Letizia fans and family, but what's the point lowering a game if you're not going to back the two that you've gone for? It does worry me slightly because we've only one shout left. Either of mine been picked does start 20 ahead. Listen, the thing about these things is they're all subjective. It all comes down to what you like in a goal. It comes down to what memories it evokes from you. Keris has already spoken about not really seeing it, so therefore, it's not high up on our thoughts. So everybody's got different reasons, different emotions, how it makes you feel when it goes in. the goal that Essie Russo scored when we went 3-2 up against Arsenal, it was by no stretch of the imagination the world's best header, but the feeling that put within me at that moment in time made it probably one of the best goals I've ever seen in my life. So all of those things will make a difference. When you see someone who might be your favourite player, as Charlie's just said, who scores a goal that is out of the top drawer, don't get me wrong, it's a really good finish. You are going to choose that. So that's the thing. They're all subjective on this one. I probably had 2 or 3 that I might have picked before this one. I think Her Majesty's goal against Spurs was a better taken volley. The very first one, not the second one. The second one was good, but it bounced. The first one was just boom, straight up into the top, opened up the score, and it was a wonderful goal. I can name 2 or 3 that I think would be slightly better than this one. But in terms of the goal itself, it's an absolute doozy. You can't take anything away from Mayer in that one. And again, with it being a centre-back as well, as we've just said, it's an incredibly good goal. So no, for me personally, not that high, but yes, a very, very, very good goal.
Yeah, that's what I like doing these shows, and it's particularly when we get to player of the season as well. Like you said, it's opinion based, which is why we put the vote, and it's why we ask for 2 votes as well, because there's also going to be a lot of people that just vote for the same one, and in that respect. So yeah, I think that's probably about right in my opinion. That's kind of where I either wanted that one second or first, so I'm quite happy that it's in the top 2 if I'm honest, because there was a period of time it wasn't. That had a late surge in the last couple of days to really move itself up. But that goal was about 4th until about 2-3 days ago. So it really did have a surge on that one with 23.5% of the vote. Right, number 1. I have a feeling this one's going to be pretty obvious, and this one won very, very convincingly as well. So 39% of the vote this one got. So nearly half of the vote went for this one. As I said, I think this one's going to be pretty clear when I bring this one on screen. Is there any surprise? Grace Clinton versus Aston Villa back in March in a 4-0 win. The 40-yard strike. There was a couple of people in the comments saying there was a foul in the build-up and everything else, which obviously I know there's a slight controversy around this one. Let me just take that off screen so you can see everyone's reaction. Who hasn't gone first? Keris, go on. You kick us off with this one.
Yeah, I think it was great. It was just really I think audacious was the word that they used on commentary, which I hate when they kind of crack out big words like that, but I thought it suited it really well. To have the confidence to go like that from distance was brilliant. It was a really it was the icing on the cake of a really convincing win, which felt really nice because we didn't sort of going into the game perhaps weren't as confident. Or was it right after Liverpool? Have I got that right?
Oh, now you're testing my memory.
I'm trying to. There was something about that game where I was like, we need to I think it was the game after Liverpool, and we were bouncing back from it. But it was such a brilliant goal.
It was it was the week after Liverpool.
Yeah, so it was such a brilliant goal. Great confidence. Don't know if it was a foul. Doesn't really matter, does it? At the end of the day. So yeah, not surprised that one's won. Pretty spectacular. So yeah, I think I'm not going to ask questions. I'm literally, whoever wants to go, just go for it, because I feel like I'm going to be saying your name so much as we go through it. So whoever wants to go next, just mute yourself and fire away, a little bit like Grace Clinton did with the shot herself. You like that, Barry? I thought that's more you. That is. No one wants to go for it. Can't believe this. Everyone's hesitating.
Waiting on the ceremony. I'll jump in. This was my goal of the season, absolutely. And for all the reasons that have just been mentioned, it is irrelevant whether or not it was a free kick or should have been a free kick. Ultimately, when you're looking at goal of the season, for me, you're looking at technique. You're looking sometimes at distance. Not all goals from distance necessarily are the best ones, but you're looking for accuracy. You're looking for the moment in the game. That all of those things will feed into it. And this was also after Grace had sort of a period of time as well where her performances were being questioned by some sections of the fan base. So to be able to come in and get that goal, I think was absolutely superb. I don't know if people have tried to score goals from that distance before. It's really not as easy as these professionals make it look. Everybody just sits there and thinks, oh, there's nobody in the goal, it's really easy. And it ends up by the corner flag. Sometimes it ends up over. Sometimes it doesn't even reach the goal. So, you know, there's so many ways in which they just make it look so simple. And actually the accuracy that was required to be able to get the ball over the goalkeeper, to land underneath the bar, all of those things was absolutely superb. So for me, without question, this should have been, and I'm pleased was, the goal of the season.
Yeah, I'd agree with Barry. Definitely was my goal of the season. I voted Letizia as my second vote, but I don't really think it was close. You know, like Keris mentioned, it was our bounce back game after the disappointing one at Anfield. Everything about that game was just, it was a feel-good game. It was exactly what we needed. And a goal like that was just the cherry on top. We were sat closest to the goal that it went in, and I felt like it took ages to go in, and it left her foot, and I was convinced it was going over, but it dipped, and it was a great goal, great moment, and definitely a goal that I won't be forgetting anytime soon. So definitely was my goal of the season.
Yeah, some of the most memorable United goals are very similar, aren't they? It's like David Beckham against Wimbledon, and I think it was Wayne Rooney, was it against Villa? It was, or West Ham, some claret and blue rubbish nonsense, wasn't it? So yeah, it was great from her. My favourite thing about it was my little girl's reaction to when it went in. She was just couldn't believe it. Obviously, having not seen a goal like that scored live, and then Grace Clinton was her favourite ever player. And then when she met her not so long ago at like a training thing, that was all she wanted to talk to her about, was that goal. So yeah, I love that. And yeah, a little bit of niggling, it wasn't it? The fact that Villa were a bit annoyed that she'd grabbed someone's shirt. Unfortunately, the opposition player had gone down like she'd been shot. So the referee wasn't having any of it. But yeah, really great goal. I didn't vote for it. Again, it's like, it was almost difficult. I've said before, it was difficult just having two to choose from, or just being able to choose two. And one of mine is always going to be an emotional vote, which is what the Mel v Mallard one was. And I don't regret it. But yeah, absolutely no surprise with the top three altogether, really. I think they're all brilliant in their own way, weren't they? And all technically very good, which is usually what you're looking for and what you're wanting out of a goal of the season vote, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I apologize if you see me laughing right now, George. I'm so sorry. I'm going to expose you here. So, George has said that we were in line with the goal and the rest of it, and Ema was getting straight in there about I don't think we were. And
we were off the opposite end, weren't we?
Yeah, there's a little bit of discussion going on between me, Georgia, and Ema now. Who's right? So I'm telling you now, me and Ema are right. We were not close to the goal.
I'm going to have to rewatch that back because I am convinced. I'm not saying that you all must be wrong, so I'm the only one remembering it right, but I'm convinced it was that goal to our right. I'll have a rewatch later.
See, yeah, you're not right. See, Georgia as well. Have you ever heard there's that sort of, not wives' tale, that saying that if everyone else is saying the opposite to you, Georgia, even if you're right, you're wrong. So everyone's saying the opposite.
Yeah, so apologies. That's what I was laughing at. Georgia was adamant that she was right on that one, and she most certainly wasn't. But you know, we all make mistakes on these things.
You also could have just let that go, Connor. Like you literally.
No, it's because I was laughing and
left
I
that
didn't.
Well alone.
If it was the other way around, someone's exposing me. So you know,
yes,
I'm going straight for it. Right, very quickly, I want to talk about some of the other goals that missed out because there are 9 that got votes for that didn't make the top 5. I'm going to bring the ones on screen that got more than one vote because there's that many. I can't actually bring them all on screen because the ticker won't be long enough. So the ones that got more than one vote, this is in order of how they missed out. So Turlin's goal versus Spurs, the first one. Tooney's hat-trick goal, and Mallard versus Leicester was ones that just missed out. So that was 6th, 7th, and 8th. Ones that got a single vote for was Maya Letizia versus Liverpool, Tooney's goal versus City, the first one, Bizet versus Leicester, Galton versus West Ham, Clinton versus West Ham, and Bizet versus Brighton. All of those only got one vote. These got just a bit more. Turnan's one just missed out on the top 5. Yeah. Barry, I'm going to come to you first because I believe one of yours is on there but only got one vote, which was obviously you.
And obviously that was me. And I'm pleased that you've done this. It means I can come around full circle because I was incredibly quiet whilst the ladies were talking about the efficacy of Ella Toon and how superb she was and how we should all raise that goal up to high levels. I chose Bizet against Brighton, and I would argue that technically that is a much better goal than the one that Ella Toon scored. Ella Toon's one was curled, right-footed, just hits the bar and goes in, whereas Celine Bizet, I think, was a much nicer goal. We talk about goals that are forgettable, and they're forgettable because they're against teams like little old Brighton, sorry, Sean. And so therefore they won't necessarily be thought of, which is what a lot of you were saying about the Toon one. And it was brilliant. We won the ball back. She's knocked the ball through one player, I think it was a little nutmeg, and then boom, unleashes it about 23 yards out, curls it in over the goalkeeper. Absolutely superb. So again, all a game of opinions, but for me, that goal was twice the goal of Ella Toon's, which led to my little outburst at the very beginning. I think there's lots of them. May Letizier's goal, I think, is probably arguably a harder technique than Ella Toon's. Ella Toon, I reckon, practices that at least 99 times per training session because she's just got it in her locker. So that's the thing. You know, in terms of Ella Toon, when you're talking about cracking goals that win goal of the season, you're looking at FA Cup finals that go in the top corner of a postage stamp of a goal that make you squeal like a tiny little girl. Those are the ones that I would be looking to see that are goals of the season, not ones that she's just curled into the top right corner. So for me, that's why I went Bizet against Brighton.
Did anyone else on the panel go for something that didn't make the top 5? So any of those that I just read out, did anyone else vote for any of those?
No, I was really keen on the Turland one against Spurs. I didn't even know that Melvie Mallard scored against Leicester.
I know. When I said that, I'm not convinced.
Is that a myth?
Yeah, when I read that out a second ago, I can't actually remember it. I think she was it.
Yeah, she did. She got a goal. She got a goal and an assist against Leicester.
I can't remember it.
I did love the Turland. I loved the Turland one against Spurs. That was another one that I was and ahhing over. I thought that was a great goal.
Mallard against Leicester was the one where the through ball comes through. They were in white, and she raced past the halfway line, used her strength over the goalkeeper. I mean, it was a good goal, but yeah, it's not top 5 worthy.
We did like a full-on tactics show on that goal, Connor. We should have remembered that because now that Barry's described it, I remember it exactly, and I spent like half an hour pulling out screenshots of that goal.
It was our first tactics show as well. I'm sure it was.
Don't beat yourself.
No, it wasn't. Our first tactics show was the derby.
Don't beat yourself up. I've got the goals of the season from the women's thing. Just for this conversation, just in case.
That was Clinton's goal. Can you see Georgia behind the goal? Because she's convinced she was there. Is there any other shouts?
The Clinton goal, I can confirm that nobody's behind the goal for the Clinton goal. We've got to be very careful. That's where she shoots. And as you can see, it's a very empty stand. There is nobody directly behind the goal for Grace Clinton's goal there. The other end, maybe, but not that one. Sorry, Georgia.
We'll let Georgia stew on that for the rest of the show. But is there any other shouts? Obviously, Turland's first goal versus Spurs, that was the one that was closest to the top 5. That missed out. That was on 4.4%. So it missed out on Bizet's by 2%. So I think that's like 2 votes or something like that. So that only just missed out. The others, as I said, got like 1 and 2 votes.
I think I had Ella Toon's as my second vote. Mostly, again, not based on technique, but just based on like that was just such a good game. Such a good atmosphere. 4 votes in total. Yeah, I'm surprised not more people voted for that. Not necessarily because of technical ability, but just like it was such a good moment. And I think had you told, because I think we went into halftime like 3-2 up, and City had just like scored 2, and we were all thinking, oh my god, like this could be a bit of a difficult second half, and then literally immediately scored after halftime. That was like one of my highlights of the season.
I think that's fair. Has anyone got anything to add on the goals before we move on to player? Because I'm conscious we're already 45 minutes in. We've still got 5 players to get through here. So is there any other shouts for goal? Or are we all wrapped up and happy with the 5? Well, viewers, you better be happy because you voted for it. So, yeah, not blaming you, but, the 5 is yours as we go through it. Right, we'll move on to player then. how many player votes did we get? So there's 9 nominations for player. So obviously 4 missed out. Again, there's no ties. Everyone is in the position as we go through it. 5th place only got 2% of the vote. And what I will say is there's massive jumps between each one until we get to the top 2, and that's quite close. So only 2% for this player. That's not taken away from their season. It's just people decided they wanted to go for someone else, clearly. Celine Bizet came in at 5th. I don't know how many votes exactly it is. I think it was like 5 or 6, which was about 2%. Georgia, I'll come to you first. Kerris is looking really surprised.
I thought maybe Celine would be a bit higher, to be honest. 5th with only 2% surprised me. But no, I think great season. You know, we've had a little bit of a winger crisis, so God knows where we'd be without her. I stand by probably the best 60 grand that's ever been spent in football. Yeah, I think she's been, you know, I'm hoping Jade's on this list somewhere as well, but with Jade along that right-hand side this season, they've been absolutely immense and cannot wait to see more of her next season. Adds so much, you know, obviously attackingly as well, being a winger, but getting back, overlapping Jade on the defence, unbelievable.
I wonder if, like, I didn't vote for her, but I'm also surprised that she got such a small percentage of the vote. But I just I had a feeling from the offset that the top 2 or 3 would get most people's votes. So actually, players like Bizet, who probably wouldn't break into people's top 2, would end up getting a minuscule amount of votes, just because of the sheer. And again, we don't. Apart from Connor, we don't know what the top 5 is overall. But I think the just importance of certain other players and the role that they played throughout probably is why she's missed out. Whereas in other seasons, there's been either we haven't had players be standout unless they're on her, and she's not here. So it's been a little bit closer, hasn't it? But she's been brilliant. Like, she's been up there for one of the signings of the season, and not just for us, but across the league, I would say. I think we all thought she was. It wasn't like she didn't arrive to huge fanfare, and she didn't arrive to people being disappointed. It was just a bit like that's a surprise, like unexpected. But she's been absolutely amazing. Brilliant in the sevens as well. Great character, I get the impression. Also really good character. And has done a lot, has a lot of goal involvements. And a player that sort of forced her way, because she wasn't playing loads and loads right at the start of the season, but kind of forced her way in. And then I think probably became one of the first names on the team sheet for every game. So it's been absolutely brilliant, but just unlucky that there's been, in my opinion, probably 1 or 2 other players that have fairly and rightly will have monopolised the vote this year.
Yeah, and I think when we come, I'll reveal the percentage as we go through, but there's it's 2% or whatever I said it. Well, yeah, 2.4%. That feels really low and harsh, but you'll see why when I say what the other percentages are when we get to those in a second. Kerris, you look really surprised that Bizet's not higher.
Yeah, she was always. So I think, I feel like we've all done. I think knowing everyone on this panel as I do, I feel like she was like everyone's third, because like there were. If I had to guess, I'm pretty sure that pretty much all of us are going to have voted for the same top 2 players, and based on that, if those are all the same as me, then my third was Bizet, and that was quite a difficult call for me to make because I wanted to kind of give her that credit. But she's been so important for us this season. Like, I think, like Charlie said, one of the signings of the season for sure. Like, across the league in terms of kind of impact, I think the signing of the season across the WSL is Caldente at Arsenal, which is, you know, fair. But I think behind that, like, Bizet is not far behind in terms of like the impact she's had on the team and like how quickly she became a really key player. I think that she's been massive, like going forward, but also like defensively as well. I think I've said a lot on these shows, like she's been a massive component to the success this season. So I'm sad for her that she's only 5th. 2% feels very harsh. But yeah.
She also arrived though, like, as not a big name. Like, see, Caldente's been incredible, hasn't she? And it's like the irony in her leaving Barcelona and then the team she joins winning the Champions League can't be understated. But I think the thing with Bizzett for me is no one was expecting her to have the impact that she's had. And that for me, that's why she's been standout. I think if you go out and you buy a Vivian Miedemar or a Caldente or whoever else, you know they're coming in and they're going to have a massive impact, aren't they? No matter which team they're joining. Whereas she was coming in without any of that sort of reputation. And I think she's just run with it, really. I think she's carried the pressure really well. Because I think something we talk maybe less with the women, although at times more with the men, is that there is a weight. There is a weight that comes with wearing the Manchester United football shirt, particularly now, the pressure a bit. And I just think I didn't vote for her. It sounds like I should have. I'm now going to myself, why didn't I vote for her? I don't know. No, I do know. I do know why, because the two I voted for are amazing, but she's been so good, hasn't she? I don't know.
I'll double check in a second, but I'm pretty sure all of us have gone for the same top two.
No corruption here. It's not corrupt. Sorry, Barry.
No problem at all. He might have said you were sat, but Luigi said you were standing. So, or was that Elton John? It's one of them. Anyway, I think the problem here is the voting system. The voting system Sorry?
You're blaming my voting system?
Yes. I'm going to explain why. I feel like the voting system...
Isn't our voting system just democracy?
I mean, yes.
I feel like we're going into quite dangerous territory.
It feels like actual politics here, because I haven't actually finished my sentence yet. I feel like the voting situation is the drama because you can only vote for two. So because you can only vote for two, I feel like you've all just said it. We've all probably gone for the same top two, which means that the bottom three, as we're calling them in these five, are always going to just come down to mavericks, I would like to call them. Mavericks who decided not to go. Perhaps they've gone, I'm going to vote for the person I think is going to win it, and then I'll give it to somebody else because they're probably going to get a second anyway. And that's why you end up, I won't finish that sentence, with people in charge that sometimes shouldn't be in charge. I'm wondering, just to say it out loud now, I probably should do this off screen, but maybe next time we should go like for a Eurovision style one where we actually put our top five in order ourselves and each one is allocated points. So like the one that finishes top is fifth, 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2. It's harder for you, but I think you would get a better top five in that situation. I'm just thinking out loud because Celine Bizzett, I completely agree with everything that Kerry said, aside from the argument that she just gave me there about having a go at the voting system, which I thought was entirely reasonable. So there we go. It's just my thoughts. Generally, it works perfectly. Genuinely works perfectly 9 times out of 10. But Celine Bizzett is not the 5th best player of the season, and anyone who thinks she is delulu.
No, I do think it's fair. The reason why we do two is because usually in previous years there's been a kind of a clear winner, but we allow people to have 2 votes. So there is a top 5. So there is other people to vote for. It's just this year, as you'll see by the percentages, the top 2 are so far out ahead of everyone else. It's not even close, as you'll see when we get there. But yeah, I think it's a little bit harsh. I would have probably had a 4th or 3rd, I think, is probably where I'd have put her. But obviously, I didn't vote for her.
And you couldn't if you had a new voting system, Connor. Under your one, you couldn't. You were hamstrung hoisted by your own petard, so you were.
Maybe next year we'll look at that as we go into next season. But moving on, 4th place, again, really low percentage, 4.9% of the votes. So again, not many at all. Hinata Miyazawa slotting in 4th. Who wants to kick us off on this one? Again, I don't know whether I'm surprised or kind of content that she's about there.
Yeah, I'll start on this one because she was my other kind of like honourable mention alongside the 2 that I did vote for. I feel like it's getting increasingly obvious who I voted for. But yeah, Hinny was my other honourable mention because I think the way she's broken through this season, she's really like come through with the sort of potential that we could see that she had, but that she maybe didn't quite have the opportunities to show yet. And like the versatility that she's shown in like that kind of playmaker role and her versatility in like dropping into holding sometimes as well. She is such an intelligent footballer, such a technically gifted footballer. Like I am never worried when I see her going into a duel or a 50-50, despite the fact that, you know, she's not the biggest player on the pitch. You know that she not 9 times out of 10, but enough, will come out with the ball. And I think that's a quality that you just need a midfielder you can trust sometimes. Like, sometimes you want someone with plenty of flair and who can pull off like outrageous finishes. And sometimes you just need someone who can like do an absolute job and just control the centre of the pitch. And she's done that so well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. A lot of people obviously agree, and this is probably about right for her. I don't know how many votes. Well, I think it was 10 in total. Yeah, 10, 4.9%. So, yeah, it's not ridiculously high. It's obviously a little bit more than Bizet. But Charlie, are you just glad to see her in the 5? I guess I reckon.
Yes, because I love her, but I didn't vote for her. Which feels mean. I'm starting to think now. And I don't think they should be, but because of the players that they are and the names that they are, I did kind of think that somehow Toon or Clinton would wiggle their way into the top 5 somewhere. Whereas now I'm thinking that's not going to be the case. And I can't believe, I feel like the top 5 is going to be my actual top 5, which is, guys, unbelievable. Okay. I thought she was absolutely brilliant, Miyazawa, and I think you felt her. You noticed how good she was in the odd game when she wasn't there. So when she didn't start against Liverpool, like that was horrid. Like, we looked so much better when she was playing. And I think there were some players where you notice the importance of them when they are then absent and they're not there. But I thought she was amazing. Keris, I don't think you were a million miles away. I think the maths was mathing when you said 9 times out of 10 she comes away with the ball, even when she's being absolutely crowded out. I think you're probably right. I've always loved the intensity of her wanting to win the ball back on the odd occasion that she loses it or misplaces a pass. I just think she's been amazing. And in a position where, like, we bought her as the Golden Boot winner of the World Cup. Not that she'd been an out-and-out striker where she'd been, but I think you're expecting her to come in and play a bit of that role. That's probably the only thing I'd want to add to her games. I know this isn't a player analysis. Sorry, I'm turning it into one. Probably what you would want to add to her game next season is 1 or 2 more goals, because she gets herself in half-decent positions. But yeah, not surprised at all to see her in 4th place. Really pleased to see her there, actually, having not voted for her. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess the concern, Georgia and then Barry just following on this one, and Barry, I'll start you first for the next one. But in terms of, I was surprised that, I'm glad that she's there. That's probably where I'd put her, I think, in a top 5. I'm surprised because of just the way the United vote went, and that these kind of players usually get overlooked. So I was a bit worried that she wasn't going to get into the top 5. So yeah, Georgia, just your thoughts on that one, and then Barry, bring us home on 4th place here.
Very glad she's in the top 5. I think 4th is probably about right. I think she's been, incredible for us this season, especially in a midfield that has chopped and changed quite a lot throughout the season. We haven't really played a consistent 3. She's sort of been in and out, whether that's, for Dom at times or Toon and Clinton in a more of an attacking role. But I think, as Keris said and Charlie said, as soon as she's out of our midfield, we miss her massively. So, yeah, unbelievable signing, unbelievable season. Just never not back her when she's in the midfield. I think her energy, her engine, just want to get the ball back, always playing positively, that has to be in the top 5. So I'm glad she's made it in there.
Yeah, I'd go along with all of that. I think Hinney's in 4th, exactly where I would have put her in my top 5 had such a voting system existed. And I think it's spot on. I think had she had a few more games, maybe she'd have had the opportunity to finish a bit higher. But I think for what she's achieved this season, I doff my cap to the young lady. Superb. 4th spot on.
There we go. So far, we're all agreed in terms of this one. And Charlie made a good point. And when we come to, I guess, honourable mentions in a second, I think that is going to be interesting as well. That's probably going to be more interested in this top 3, which I think a lot of people are probably going to be able to guess. But which order is this top 3 going to be in? So 3rd place got 13%. So it's jumped up a little bit, but again, still a way off the top 2. I'm trying to find the right graphic now. I don't want to put on the wrong one. 3rd place, 13%. is the new captain for the season in Maya Letitia. So, Barry, if you want to kick us off with this one, with Maya coming in third place there.
Well, I can confirm that Maya Letitia would have been 5th in my top 5, but she would have been in my top 5. And I think that's the key part of this conversation, because provided that the top 2 is as I have chosen, then I've nailed the top 5 here, which is absolutely superb. Maya Letitia has been a revelation this season. She's been captain, which is a hard thing, taking over from Katie Zellum and having to do that. She has managed that. She has led the defence to an absolutely outstanding season in terms of clean sheets. You know, Fallon Tullis-Joyce has got the plaudits for the clean sheets, but she always gives that recognition to the defence as well. And that's led by Maya Letitia. So I think it's absolutely superb that Maya Letitia is in that top 5. She is an absolute rock at the back. And although I would not have picked her goal to be in the top 5 this season, I absolutely would have put her in the top 5. She is outstanding, and we need to build our defence around her. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think the captaincy as well, as I've put on the tweet, I think she's shown why she was the right choice, I think, this season, on and off the pitch, in that one. Keris, agree with that one?
Yeah, so far you guys have gone with my top 5, so this is great football knowledge from everyone. Yeah, no, I think Maya's been unbelievable. I think it's really, really easy as well to forget how young she is. It's less easy for me because she is my age. So I'm looking at, like, you know, I managed to get my timing so badly wrong today that I haven't even had dinner yet, and she's captaining Man United. So, like, you know, but on a serious note, like, kind of she's so unbelievably kind of composed, solid, again, trustworthy. Like, you don't need to worry when she's kind of in a one-on-one. She organises the back line so well. She's been such a kind of key part of that defensive unit, and to come into it and be as solid as she has, and come into it as captain and kind of shoulder that responsibility so well and be such a great leader is brilliant. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. And she would, I think, like all of this top 5, like, were it not for the 2 players that I assume are the top 2, then she would be a lot higher, because her consistent availability as well, like, that is insane. The amount of minutes that she has played, the fact that she's never injured, she's always available, is one of the best qualities that a footballer can have. So yeah, it's such a good captain, and I'm so excited to kind of see her hopefully captain United for a few more years. Yeah.
So 3rd, she was my 3rd. As I'll be absolutely bamboozled if the top 2 isn't who I'm expecting. Absolutely bamboozled. I think as the season's gone on, it's looked more and more and more ridiculous as well that she's not getting a look in for the international setup. Not that, like, most United fans, if you ask them, will be bothered. Quite happy for her to have minimal minutes over the summer and have a break and whatnot, with Champions League qualifications games coming up not soon after the season, or just before the season restarts. But it just looks like she's been so good, to the point where, for me, this season, I've sometimes overlooked that. So I haven't noticed it, how good she's been. And she's never injured. Like, and a lot can be said for that as well. Like, all she is, and she just plays. I think too many players in just professional football currently, if they feel the slightest thing or they can't play, I don't think you get that from her. But she's been colossal, I would say, absolutely amazing. And Serena Wiegman is an absolute pillock, I think, for not playing her at all. Like, it's a madness. But thank goodness she didn't let that influence her decision to re-sign for us. I feel like so fortunate that she signed a contract extension, and she's going to be ours into the sort of peak of her career. Like, she's not even there yet. That's what's insane. Like, centre backs usually peak latest, them and goalkeepers, don't they? And she's 22, and she's absolutely the boss of everything. Like, amazing. She's not even at her best. phenomenal player.
Completely agree with everything everyone said. Like Kara said, it's so easy to forget how young she is. You know, like Kara said, I forget that she is younger than me, which is wild. And you know, I think she got the captaincy in quite a difficult time at the club. You know, obviously last season fell way below our standards, lost a lot of players that had sort of been part of the furniture for years. And I think she's just taken everything this season on and off the pitch, just in her stride. She's been an absolute rock at the back. Definitely one of the best defenders in the WSL. Like Charlie said, bonkers that she's not starting for England or not even being looked at as a centre-back for England, but more than happy for her to get some rest. And I think if, again, I didn't vote for Maya, I'm thinking that we all did vote for the same two. And if they weren't as phenomenal as they has been this season, I think Maya, in any other season, her performances would have been in for a shout for Player of the Season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for me, she's not gone under the radar a little bit because obviously our whole backline has been exceptional. But I just think her in particular, some of the last-minute blocks that she's made, her recovery pace is something I think that goes unnoticed as well. Her, you know, particularly in the games against Chelsea, it's been quite good on that one. Barry wants to ask something. I'm confused, Barry, as to the context of your question, so I'm going to let you ask it because I don't actually know what you're wanting me to ask before we come on to second.
No, not before we. Well, yes, before we go on to second, but who would we have put in second? So everybody's given their two. Who would be their second? Who's their number two? They're given two. One of them has to be their number one. Who was their number two?
I was going to say, I have a feeling all of us went for the same. So this should be unanimous, I think.
Who's going first?
No,
I reckon we've all done the exact same top two, but I think there might be some variety in who's got who first and second. So this is really difficult, and I was really, really glad I had two votes. But for my second, I'm going to say Fallon.
Interesting.
Just because the player who I have put first, I think the growth that we've seen from her, that puts her first for me. But Fallon's been exceptional. I'm sure we're going to talk about both of these players.
I put Fallon second too.
Fallon was also my second.
Charlie, Georgia?
Fallon was my first.
Oh,
I'm going to go.
Was it?
I'm going to go Fallon second, but I didn't realise we were voting in order.
You're all wrong.
Well, what they say, don't you? If everybody else around you is saying, even if they're wrong, you're still wrong.
Right, let me fight a corner. Not have to fight a corner because you all voted for her.
I mean, you can come to that in a second, Charlie, because I think it's pretty obvious. This is going to be this is the two. So it's like I said, there was a massive gap between these. 13% Maya got, and that's third. Second place has got 34%, and first has got 44%. So nearly 80% of the vote these two got, which is mental. We've never ever had that. It's the biggest margin we've ever had for first, and then also for second, and also the biggest margin down as well. Shall I just put people out of their misery and reveal which order this is? Because I have a feeling it's obvious. As soon as I reveal second, first is going to become pretty clear.
Imagine
if
it wasn't.
I was going to say, imagine if this isn't who everyone's thinking it's going to be.
Ella Toon first.
I completely missed. But in second place, as I said, 34% of the vote has had an exceptional season. Jade Riviere makes it onto the top three podium. So Charlie's really happy. That's why I just paused you before you said any more. I had a feeling it was going to go that way.
I loved no. Right, guys, I love Jade Riviere. I think she's been an absolute monster, and I agree with what was said before about you look at although she was decent last year, wasn't she? And the progress she's made this year. People gone about being one of the best right backs in the WSL. I think she's one of the best right backs in the world, is what I would say. And maybe I'm biased, who knows? But that's what I would say. I think her importance for me is shown through the fact that I wonder what could have happened with that FA Cup final had she been fit. And I think that tells you everything. Not that you want to be a team that's relying on a player, but there are really impactful players, and she is one of them. And we've sort of seen what's happened when she's been unavailable, and kind of what you maybe make a decision under massive pressure that I wasn't expecting to have to make. But I think the reason she wasn't my first choice, and this isn't necessarily her fault, is I think probably the injuries swayed me a little bit. And I think, I don't know. It'd be easy for me to, when we get to the first person who's obvious now, that'll be easy. It's easy for me to explain why I voted for the person that I voted for first, rather than me try and give ridiculous reasons as to why Jade isn't amazing. Because Jade is amazing. What a wonderful footballer. And again, another one, along with the player that came third and the player that's come first, that has signed a contract extension. Amazing. Our 3 most influential players all want to stay at Man United long term. And I think that says a lot for things potentially going on behind the scenes with the club. With the women's side of things, certainly the fact they think it's a place worth being. But she's been wonderful. I think I've nothing bad to say about her. I wish I hadn't said the thing about the injuries. I was trying to pluck at a reason as to why she wasn't my first, and it was nonsense. So I actually take that back. So hopefully no one cuts that and sends it into some horrible viral thing, and I get abused for it. Because she's been brilliant. But for me, there are certain things about Fallon Tullis-Joyce that made her first for me. There.
Well, spoiler alert, Charlie.
Well, I'm assuming. Imagine if it isn't.
Don't know. You're on about Rachel Williams is number 1. I don't know what you're ruining
Rachel
the top
Williams, dude.
Yeah, has anyone got anything to add on Jade in second? As I said, this was a massive margin, and I might actually share the sheet in a second. And like those two were being voted together, like I think by all of us, but by literally everyone. Every time I was adding the votes, it was Jade and Fallon, Jade and Fallon. Every single one was kind of in that order. So this was not a surprise. It was pretty obvious by the first day that this was going to be the top 2. I think on that one.
Yeah, I think what Charlie said like really sums it up. When she got injured and we discovered that she wasn't going to be there for the final, I think that was the second worst injury that we could have suffered after Fallon. Like, I think that her influence on a game, like, again, working in kind of partnership with Bizet on that right-hand side, it's just been such a joy to watch this season. And I'm so kind of excited as well, because, again, she's so young. I was thinking the other day, actually, as I was watching us against PSG, like I was thinking back to the game at Lille against PSG in the Champions League last season, and thinking how she really struggled in that game, and she looked a little bit out of her depth. And then you compare that to where she is now and how important she's become. So like, just so influential, and so important to the team. So yeah, I think she would have been my first, but I have no problem with the person who is first.
Yeah, I think it's hard, like Charlie was sort of trying to aim at, it's hard to have reasons why Jade shouldn't be first. You know, for me, she's the best right back in the WSL. But availability is the best ability, I think. Not to throw an inspirational quote out there, but I think, you know, in the big games, when we miss her, we are a completely different team. Well, in any game where we miss her, we're a completely different team. But absolutely stand out. You know, she's signed till 2028 and hopefully another 5 contracts after that, and happy that she's second.
I think that Jade Rouillet is superb, as you might have all guessed by the fact that I would have put her as my player of the season. I think she was my player of the season because, let's be honest, the outfield players do seem to get more of a nod than the between the sticks players quite often. I'm actually pleased if it does turn out to be Fallon at the top, because she's been overlooked every single player of the match, even though she's shared the Golden Glove. But yeah, as far as Jade's concerned, so good. We've seen such improvement from last season, and our right side just isn't the same without her. I don't know that I wouldn't have put her number 1 just because of injury, because the injuries didn't keep her out for the entirety of the season as they have done before. but I can see why that would be used if you're sitting there and trying to choose between the two. Let's be honest, it's as broad as it is long, really, isn't it? It's like picking heads and tails on a £1 coin. Either way, you've got a pound coin, so it's really not the end of the world, is it?
And as well, she played 18 out of 22 WSL games. She's not missed a lot this season. Granted, she missed the big game, obviously, with the cup final. Not really her fault in that respect. So, yeah, I don't think it's that. But, yeah, she would have been my player of the season purely just because of not that anyone else had, but I think the improvement we've seen in her and how crucial she's been to the back line, but also going forward. We're nowhere near as good going forward without her on the right hand side as well. So yeah, she would have been mine, although I'm fairly happy with how this top 5 has gone, to be honest. And I'm also just glad that she got so much of the vote. As I said, 33% in a percentage that has been won by 44. As I said, those two were just way out in front on that one. Right, let's just quickly reveal number 1, because I'm pretty sure this is the most obvious first place I think we've ever had. But as you'll notice on the graphics as well, 1 photo, 2 photo. So of course, number 1. There's got to be 3, and there's only 1. Fallon Tullis-Joyce, of course it is. As I said, 44% of the vote. She wins this on. It was when I was filling this out, as I said, almost I think she only didn't get votes from about 10 people. Out of everyone who voted, only 10 people didn't vote for her as one of the 2. So it was a clear winner pretty much as we were going through this. Barrett, go on, kick us off. Why Fallon has been voted number 1 in our community's eyes, do you reckon?
Jade Riviere had practiced last season stepping into the boots of a certain Onabatier, who was one of the greatest right backs that the WSL has ever seen, and Jade Riviere has lived up to it this season. Fallon Tullis-Joyce had to play second fiddle to a goalkeeper who had openly admitted that she wanted to leave the club, was chasing a way out of it, and then when she didn't get gone, we allowed her to stay between the sticks. She did not moan, she didn't groan, she didn't grumble, she just got on with it, carried on thinking about the team, and this season she was promoted to number 1. And in the time that she was number 1, she has made absolutely everybody forget about Mary Earps. Mary Earps didn't even bother being at the 7. She just turned up and wore an Arsenal shirt in the Champions League final, whereas Fallon Tullis-Joyce reached the final of the first ever World Sevens. So in the same way as Jade Riviere was my top because she's made me say honour who, Fallon is the top because she's made us all go Mary who.
And thinking as well, I've put this on the tweet as well, a name maybe not as known to people before this season. Certainly people know her name now. That's for sure. Charlie, Fallon, number 1.
Yes. So she's my number 1 vote, comfortably. I would say with a goalkeeper, you want them to not have to do loads and loads, and then there'll be moments when you need them to make those incredible saves, and she's done that at times this season. So against the Hasegawa free kick against City in the cup, which could have turned that game, and I know the Chelsea League game didn't end up quite how I wanted it to. There's that triple save that she made when she'd also not had to do that much, where she kept us in the game. But she hasn't just been a goalkeeper who's not had to do much. There's been times this season where I've been under the cosh, and I actually think if it wasn't for her, I think our defensive record is in large part down to her. I think that can't be understated enough. And I also think, like last season, Barry, you've touched upon it, last season, we were letting in goals for fun. Like, we were not good, like the amount of goals that we conceded, and she was just completely professional. Like, you didn't hear a peep from her. She clearly just got on with the job that she had to do. She's a brilliant character. I think it was Nikita Paris came out early this season and said the reason they won the FA Cup last year was because of her, because they would practice against her and it was impossible to score against her in training. So they had to be the best that they could be. And she's just such a professional. There's no fanfare. There's no everyone look at me, screaming and shouting, rollicking the back line. She just goes to work every day and does her job really, really well. And she's just been amazing. I think we're right. When we talked about when Jade got injured for the final, we were really worried, weren't we? We were really worried. But there was always another option there. I think had Fallon Tullis-Joyce at any point got injured this season or got that red card she maybe should have got against Chelsea at Kingsmeadow, I think that would have been catastrophic. And I don't think I'm overstating that. I think it would have been catastrophic had we had to play games without her. But she's just been amazing. I love the way after games when she's clearly been the player of the match, she's been outstanding. She's just always made it about the team. Again, another really, really good character to keep at the club. And is also getting the international plaudits that she's obviously wanted to play for her international, to play for the USA. She's just been exceptional from start to finish, performance-wise, how she behaves, as a bit of a leader as well. Just phenomenal for me. Was always going to be my number one for that reason, even though she's 91, but she was always going to be my number one.
Yeah, I think it's hard to kind of say anything that everyone's not already said, but such a deserved winner. I think for me to be kind of like, for her to have made, for a goalkeeper to have made her way into sort of fame, because they're usually the ones that get overlooked, for them to be such a star of the league in a season is really, really unusual. And I just think she's been exceptional. Like I think Connor's looked at sort of before, like the data, like the expected goals against her and that sort of thing. Like, make no mistake, we've got a great line in defence, but the saves that she has made have kept us in games. Like, they've kept us in games, they've won us points. Like, she has changed this season for us in a way that a lot of other keepers probably wouldn't have pulled off the ones that she has. And I'm not slighting kind of anyone else, but the saves that she's made, like the triple save in the cup semi-final, stuff like that, she is exceptional. And again, and it just couldn't be a nicer person as well. Just could not be like a more humble, more open, more kind of kind person. Like, you know, how often do you get someone who is in like teaching marine biology to kids in schools and then going and winning a Golden Glove on the rest of her days at work? Like, we're so lucky to have her, and I'm so excited to see what she carries on doing for us.
Yeah, completely agree. Top draw on and off the pitch. You know, our defence does get a lot of plaudits this season, and you know, when people say, you know, the best back line in the league, I think maybe Fallon does get missed at, not necessarily by, you know, people within the fan base, but maybe people outside of that. She has been phenomenal. You know, I could name 5 standout saves off the top of my head, and that's, you know, not just the week in, week out. I think she's developed incredibly this season as well. Looking from the start of the season, you know, to where she is now, you can tell she has ultimate respect from the back line. Nobody can speak highly enough of her. And, you know, like I said, she was another one that came into the club and did have to bide her time and sit behind Earps. And, you know, I know a lot of people were worried about Earps leaving, but I honestly think it was probably the best thing that could have happened to the club. And that's not me necessarily slighting Earps. It's that if Earps stayed, we've got Fallon sat on the bench, which looking back was absolutely criminal, you know, to have her sat on the bench. But I think that year, you know, getting to know the team, learning behind Mary was probably, again, one of the better things that could have happened, and could not be more thankful to have her in between the posts, and another one that signed on for a good couple of years. So very happy that she's player of the season this year. Very well deserved.
Yeah, that cornerstone of our backline, 2028, isn't it? All of them. So that's really, really good to see. And yeah, obviously, I know people are talking about Wilco as well. Obviously, hopefully that is replaced well. But Fallon's involved in the recruitment process, so I'm sure it will be an adequate replacement with her involved as well. There were 4 players that did get votes for, not many, as you'll see, because I've put them on screen. So honourable mentions were Ella Toon, Grace Clinton, Millie Turner, and Elizabeth Turland. The number next to them is how many votes they got. Because as I said, the votes were fairly it's the top 2. Massive drop to everyone else. Is there any surprise, firstly, anyone that's not on there that you thought should have had a vote? So we've gone through the top 5, and these are the other 4 that did get one. Is there any surprises? Is there anyone missing, do you think? Anyone that that's on this list should be higher?
Hinny's missing.
Hinny came in the top 5.
No, she came in. I don't mean Hinny. I mean Dom. I think has been amazing this season. You know, she's adapted into a new role really well. Been really solid. So yeah, I think she's missing, but I don't think that there's too many. I don't think there's too many. That I think what's been really nice this season is even though we had 2 real like standouts, I think there are a lot more players this season who could have come in the top 5 or who could have won, and who I would have been like, were it not for kind of Fallon and Jay being the complete standouts, there are so many players on the team who I would have been like, yeah, that's deserved. Whereas last season, I don't think it felt like we had that same like all-round team feel where everyone was kind of really like in it together. Whereas I feel like a lot more players have shown their qualities this season, to put it really simply. So yeah.
Janssen's the one that I'm surprised hasn't got anything. And I do think she's gone, like exactly like Rose said, I do think she's gone massively under the radar this season. So I'm surprised she hasn't. She's probably the only one. The ones that are on screen at the moment, they're kind of going along the bottom, are ones I expected to get votes. I thought, Charlie said this earlier, I thought Tooney and Grace would get more, if I'm honest, than what they did get. And Turland being our top scorer, top goal involvements in the WSL, only 1 vote. I think that's a surprise, if I'm being honest. I thought she would have been higher at least. But again, I think that's the thing with what Barry was talking about earlier, the flaw with the voting system, that if you can only pick 2, everyone pretty much picked the same 2. So other players like Turland and the rest of them have kind of missed out a little bit because of everyone just going for the same. But that's the nature of these things. But they were worth a little mention at the end as well. Because no one else is unmuted, I'm assuming no one's got anything else to say. So I'm just going to skip over it, I think, because no one else is jumping at me to say something. Yeah, maybe next season, get a few more goals, sneak into that top 5 for next season. But there we go. An hour and 30 minutes, and we've covered our player of the season, goal of the season. The tweets are all out there. I'll tweet the percentages in the next couple of days as well. So you can see what the full vote split down, full vote breakdown was, and the rest of it, and all those kind of things. If you could just bear with us, if you can stick with us for like 10 minutes while we wrap the show up, I apologise. No, I don't apologise. Stick around because this is important. As I've kind of said on the TikTok Live last night, we've got a few things just to round the season off, a couple of things to talk about, and the rest of it. There's someone on the panel who's looking at me because they know I'm about to come to them first to give us some news. Is that the right way of putting it? They know exactly who they are, so I'm waiting for them to unmute themselves to lead us in, I guess.
That was really unnecessarily dramatic. Yeah, hi everyone. I'll keep this really short. I feel weirdly more emotional than I was expecting to. This is going to be my last show with AFU, at least for the foreseeable future. For very exciting reasons. The rest of the kind of team already know this, but I'm working with The Athletic over the summer, which is incredibly exciting, which I'm super happy about. But the kind of knock-on effect of that is it does mean that I have to step down from doing this, at least for now. I'll keep it really, really short, but I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has watched, who has left lovely comments, who has kind of backed me up presenting shows, doing the tactics shows. Like, all of it has just been amazing. To the rest of the panel as well, to Barry, Charlie, Georgia, like everyone else who comes on, it's been amazing being part of this team, and most of all to Connor as well. I think when you messaged me ahead of the Newcastle game last season, that was the first time that anyone had ever reached out to me who was not a direct relative and said that they thought what I had to say about football was worth hearing. And I don't think I could have predicted what this would have done for me, and that it would have given me such a great mate as well. So yeah, thanks everyone.
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but I think it was definitely worth a mention, as you said. Obviously, we hope to see you back at some point in the near future. But as everyone's saying in the chat, you can obviously see it all. It's an exciting opportunity. I'm going to put my thoughts out there. I know I think I can speak for everyone, but it's just incredibly proud of what you've done. To be honest, as you said, we messaged you over a year ago, and there you trundled over to me and Mia at halftime in that Newcastle game, and it kind of went on from there. As you said, the tactics shows and everything you've done in between, you've genuinely been one of my favourite people to do shows with over these last 18 months or 18 months it's been about, or something like that, 16 to 18 months. So, yeah, of course, obviously, we're sad not to have you on show, certainly for the foreseeable, but absolutely a massive career step and one you absolutely deserve as well. So definitely worth mentioning on here. I'm going to go through some of these comments and just bring them on screen. I feel like Barry's going to say something because I always know when Barry's about to say something because he leads forward and like the unmute button's ready to go. So I want to bring some of these comments on screen while you do that. But
yeah, well, listen, I just wanted to add to what you said, to be honest with you. It's a joy working for this channel. It really, really is. And it's a privilege as well, because it's gone from just being almost like a Wayne's World style channel that had, all of the fans jumping on to put their opinions across, to being something incredible. And it's given so many people the opportunity to come on and analyze football. It has become a place now where it's not just about opinion. It's actually about backing that opinion up with a decent editorial view almost. And I'd like to think that that's where we've helped Keris in terms of giving her that practice of getting that view out there. But I do need to be incredibly clear here that everything that's happening with Keris comes down to her work ethic, comes down to who she is as a human being, and just how bloody hard she has worked. She doesn't do things by half at all. And the level of effort that she's putting into her writing, into making those connections, and into maintaining and holding the reputation that she's managed to get, I think is just absolutely outstanding. And so from our point of view here, we're absolutely gutted that we're going to be losing a superb contributor, but absolutely delighted for what's to come, because let's be absolutely honest, this is literally just a start for Keris, and I just wanted to wish you absolutely all the best as you move forward, because you are going to be an absolute superstar. Very soon we'll be saying Tom who, Emma who, because it's all about Keris.
Yeah, I think you took the words right on that. Sean said, have you got a poem here, but I don't think you have. You'd have told me, I think, by now if there was one.
No, there's no poem this evening, Sean. Okay. I've got 2 minutes left, so I need to be on another channel.
So there we go. Yeah, so that's that. And like I said, I'll just echo everything. I'm sure, Keris, you're going to get a lot of this over the next few days. I know it's going to be a busy couple of weeks for you as we kind of move forward. But as I always say, this is the last show, I guess, of the season. So we're wrapping the season up. So I'm going to do my kind of a little end of season thing. And this is going to throw everyone off. I'm actually going to start with an apology, because I had so many ideas and so many things I wanted to do this season, on things I wanted to do, whether that's around match days, content-wise. I don't feel like we have this season for various reasons. It's mainly my fault and the rest of it. However, there are things that have been good this season. The growth of the platform and various things. 2 player interviews with Jay Riviere and Lucy Newell. That was obviously a couple of months ago as well. But people always see AFU, I guess, as me, or they have done in the last 12 months. Genuinely, I mean this. Without these guys on screen, and there's people in the comments I'm going to name drop in a second, I would have packed this in this season. There was quite a lot of occasions, and I don't mind admitting this, where I was so close to throwing the towel in, quite literally, because of various things I spoke about that's happened to me this season. So these guys on screen, remember the names. I'm going to say that they're really dramatic for you. Barry, Charlie, Keris, Georgia, Jess, who's not on screen as well, Andrew, who's in the comments, and also Ema and Ella, who on match days, I can tell you for a fact, if it wasn't for Georgia, Ema and Ella, I would not have gone back this season. I would have stopped after the first few games. These guys have genuinely dragged me through the season. So while I appreciate, I get a lot of messages and a lot of things being like, what you've done for the platform. And yeah, I'm out there. I put myself out there, I guess, a lot more. And the tweets, I guess, are from me and the rest of it. Without these guys, I'd have thrown the towel in months ago. So yeah, I wanted to really shout those guys out, because it always comes back to me, I guess, because I own it and the rest of it. But honestly, what these guys have done for me helps this brand and this channel. So I apologize. I've not done everything I wanted this season. I really hyped this season up as being something better. I don't feel it has been, but it carried on. And I think that's the only thing I can take from it.
Here I go again. So listen, it takes a real legend to be able to step out and say some of the things that you've said, Connor, in not just here tonight, but through your Twitter and everything that you do there. And I think I can speak for literally everybody who's ever watched All for United WFC when we say there is no expectation in terms of this becoming the world's biggest. It's already the biggest Manchester United women's platform out there. So even if you just sat still for the next 5 years, nobody's catching us up on that one, because we've got too many good people, too many good contributors around us here who do superb things, too many fantastic people that come on to watch and that comment, the ones that don't comment, the vast majority that don't comment, but that still come in and watch and enjoy it. And I just wanted to say how proud I am of you for carrying on this season, for getting on with it, for fighting through it and showing everybody that life isn't always easy and it's not always as simple as just turning up and watching a football match. But the level of effort you put in is absolutely superb. And so you should be incredibly proud of yourself and incredibly proud of the channel that you have built. It's getting far too mushy for my liking this last 10 minutes, and I've got to get going. So I've come up with a very simple 4-line poem off the top of my head that will work for both of you. It goes something like this. It goes, roses are red, violets are blue, Connor's amazing, and Keris will miss you. And that's really about as simple as it could go. And to finish it off, it wouldn't be an end of season awards show if we didn't expose Connor. And this year's Connor expose is an incredibly simple one, because although Connor may not have been to all of the matches and done all of the things that he could have done before, he spends ages thinking about what it is that's going to happen in these shows, and he knows what's coming. Ta-da! This is Connor pre-match, when he likes to have a little sit down. He's having a little think, what should we do this year? What's happening this week? That is Connor chic right there for you now. For those of you that sat there and said Barry's getting sacked from AFU today, probably, but he can't sack me from WOFO. So if you'd like to come and see me over there, that's where I'm off to. Keris, you're amazing. Good luck in everything you do. Connor, keep coming that quiff. Charlie, Georgia, love you all. Baz are out.
I had no idea you were going to do that.
I didn't know what was coming there either, to be fair. That's absolutely finished me off.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but
I had no idea what was coming.
So yeah, I've got nothing really more to add. I just wanted to make sure and people remember those people that I've just mentioned. And also as well, someone I did just forget as well, James, who makes our thumbnails. Again, it's just something that people just assume happens, and that we just rock up and do shows. James, who makes our thumbnails, who, by the way, is working for Amazon Prime, for the Premier League. He's doing all of that stuff at the moment and also still finds time to make our thumbnails. So massive shout out to him. George, who's been making our graphics this season and the rest of it. But as I said, more importantly, these guys and you guys in the chat as well, because I've had a lot of messages this season. It's been a little bit overwhelming, if I can't lie, which I apologize if I've not got back to you, because I do get so many of them these days. In that respect. So it does mean a lot. As I said, I'd be lying to you. I've essentially dragged myself to the season is the best way I can put it. So we've got there. That's the main thing. There are positives. But yeah, obviously some work to do over the summer, and hopefully it'll be a even bigger and better channel. Back in sweaty God into next season as well. Has anyone got anything to add before we round this one off, or are we all?
Yeah, I'll jump in really quickly because I have to. Just to kind of echo a lot of what Barry said, but I think you've just spoken about how people don't see the work that goes in. People like James making the graphic stuff that people assume gets done. I've said it before, and I will kind of continue to say that people don't really know until you end up talking to them at 1, 2 in the morning, like I have. The amount of work that Connor puts into this channel is unbelievable. You don't see it. You don't see all of the sort of you don't see the work that goes in, and not everything that goes in ends up getting posted as well. And I just think that it's one of the hardest working people I know, and we are all so proud of you and so proud to work with you and to call you a mate as well. And so that was my little kind of 2 pence, and I'll be in the comments still in the new season saying the same thing.
No, I really appreciate it. And that's actually the key point and what I want to end on, actually, because, again, I said this on the previous shows that people ask if we get on kind of off camera. Trust me, we do. We all do talk away from off camera and at match days. You know, it's we're all kind of a little group now, which is quite nice as well. So there is a lot to take away from the channel. I know I started this whole thing by apologising. That's just how I feel. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I know that, you know, it's necessarily not something that people speak about when there's loads of positive to talk about, that, you know, people just see me. And again, on the live I had it last night, the positive, confident guy. I'm just putting out there that it's not always like that in reality. And, you know, sometimes it is a bit of an act to get up and do it. So that's just where we're at. In terms of the off season, how are you guys getting us through the close season? The next show is probably going to be a transfer one, where we kind of build maybe a transfer 11, dream 11 or something like that. I know Charlie enjoyed that last time we did it, so maybe we'll do something similar to that again, you know, in the next couple of weeks. But any ideas, anything you want us to do, drop it in the comments. We'll obviously look to do those over the next couple of weeks as well. But yeah, I'll round it off there, unless Charlie and Georgia, who were both shaking their head a second ago, so I don't think they've got anything to add. No, there we go. Nothing to add. So yeah, we'll be back. I don't know when we're next going to be back. It'll be on Twitter or X or whatever. Thank you to everyone in the comments, anyone who supported us this season, whether that's on TikTok lives, on the TikTok in general, the Instagram, the Twitter, whatever, or on here on YouTube, where so many of you comment and watch along. It's been amazing to meet, you know, some of you this season as well. Not as many as I'd like, but so many of you this season. But you're always back week in, week out, whether we win, lose, draw, whatever. You're always back in the comments, and that's been amazing this season. So appreciate you all. Make sure you're liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. If you're new around here, slightly different end of the show, but we got through it. So yes, I don't know. See you guys later.